Chicago, 1995, a city that breathed basketball, success, and ambition. Here, in the midst of the greatness of the Bulls, the arrival of a man was brewing who would forever change the dynamics of the team. Dennis Rodman. Born in Trenton, New Jersey, in 1961, Rodman became an unstoppable force with the Detroit Pistons in the late 80s, part of the legendary Bad Boys. His talent was undeniable. Rebounds, defense, and an intensity that bordered on the wild. But Rodman was not just an athlete. His life off the court was a spectacle. Parties, dyed hair, fiery interviews. The press both loved and feared him in equal measure. When Dennis joined the Chicago Bulls, he encountered the dynasty of Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Phil Jackson. It was a monumental challenge to fit into a team that was already legend without losing his unique essence. In his first practice, the chemistry was not immediate. Jordan scrutinized every move, Pippen remained watchful, and Rodman did what he always did: dominate every rebound, every jump, every moment. His relationship with Phil Jackson and the rest of the coaching staff was a delicate balance between discipline and brilliance. Every day was a test, not only of skill, but of patience and tolerance. But on the court, Rodman shone. His ability to anticipate the ball, to be in the exact place at the exact time, made the Bulls a nearly unbeatable team. Every interview, every public appearance, became a stage for tension. Rodman was unconventional. His answers, his style, defied the expectations of a league that wanted to put him in a box. With some teammates, Rodman found complicity. With others, a wall of distrust. He was a man of extremes, and extremes, sooner or later, generate consequences. In the mid-90s, the NBA was living its golden age. Media presence reached levels never seen before. Every gesture by Rodman was amplified. Every rebound was news. Every absence a potential scandal. Rodman was more than a player. He was a phenomenon, a symbol of rebellion and talent. And although he seemed indestructible, beneath that mask of confidence hid fragilities that few knew about. The season was approaching, and the Bulls depended on Rodman as much as they did on Jordan. Every practice was vital. Every rebound, a step toward glory or tragedy. Away from the lights and the euphoria, Dennis faced his own demons. Fame, pressure, the need to be unique. It all weighed on him, and in the midst of it all, something was beginning to change. It was only a matter of time before Dennis Rodman's life collided with the reality of the NBA and the public eye. The Bulls were a team of champions, but even champions have cracks. And then, in the heart of 1998, Rodman would begin to fade away. Not only from practices, but from the world around him. A disappearance that would shake the NBA and leave an impossible question to answer. What was Dennis Rodman really searching for? The 1997-1998 season was not just another season. It was the last dance, the last chance for the Chicago Bulls to win a sixth ring with the dynasty intact. For Michael Jordan, it was a journey toward ultimate glory. For Dennis Rodman, it would be the beginning of an unpredictable descent. The team was surrounded by tension. Scottie Pippen demanded a fair contract and clashed with management. Michael Jordan maintained absolute focus, and Rodman seemed to walk a tightrope between discipline and chaos. On the court, Rodman was vital. His instinct for rebounding kept decisive games alive. Every leap, every effort, was a spectacle. But off the court, the story was different. In January of 1998, the problems began. Unjustified absences from practices, late arrivals, disappearances that worried coaches and players. Each time Rodman didn't show up, the press pounced on the story. The league was in the midst of a media boom. The NBA was expanding globally, and the Bulls were its most visible face. Every Rodman scandal was not just local news, it was international. Phil Jackson tried to keep the balance. He was a master at dealing with egos, but with Rodman it wasn't easy. Between them existed a strange bond, respect, but also constant challenge. Rodman's life overflowed. Endless parties, romances with celebrities, constant headlines. For some, he was an icon of freedom. For the Bulls, an uncontrollable risk. Behind the colorful mask was a vulnerable man. Rodman spoke of loneliness, of feeling misunderstood. That fragility made him unpredictable, and that unpredictability was beginning to cost dearly. Michael Jordan demanded perfection. For him, talent was not enough. Each of Rodman's absences infuriated him, and in the locker room the tension could be cut with a knife. Despite everything, Rodman delivered in key moments. His duel with Karl Malone in the West was fierce, and every rebound was a reminder. With Rodman, the Bulls were unstoppable. The media noise was deafening. Journalists chased him, fans idolized him, and Bulls executives began to worry. Where did they draw the line between brilliance and irresponsibility? Each day it became more evident. This season was the last. Jerry Krause, the Bulls executive, planned to dismantle the dynasty, and Rodman, with his instability, seemed a symptom of the inevitable fracture. In the winter of 1998, Rodman suddenly disappeared. There were no warnings, no explanations, only an unsettling silence that fell over the team and the city. The Bulls were in shock. Where was Dennis Rodman? What had happened to the man who, days earlier, seemed indestructible on the court? It was the beginning of a mystery that would mark the NBA, a disappearance that no one saw coming, and that would reveal more than the world was prepared to hear. On February 2nd, 1998, Dennis Rodman did not show up to practice. At first, no one was too surprised. Rodman had skipped before, but that day, the silence grew longer than expected. The team staff tried to reach him, calls to his house, to his agent, to close friends. No one answered. Rodman seemed to have vanished from the city of Chicago. What began as routine soon turned into unease. Rodman showed no signs, and in a team that lived under the media spotlight, every hour of absence was dynamite. The press speculated without rest. Some spoke of alcohol problems, others of an escape to flee the pressure. It was even said he was with Madonna, with Carmen Electra, or lost in some endless party. The testimonies were contradictory. A taxi driver swore he saw him at a club in Las Vegas. Another said he was traveling toward Los Angeles. The only certainty was that no one really knew where he was. On the court, his absence weighed heavily. Without Rodman, the Bulls lost their best rebounder, their defensive soul. Every game without him was a reminder that the dynasty could wobble. Behind the scenes, the Bulls pulled every string possible. They contacted the police, former teammates, family members, but Rodman remained missing. It was as if he had decided to erase his trail. In Chicago, everyone had a theory. For some, it was part of his persona. For others, it was the symptom of something darker. A broken man, unable to bear the weight of fame. The first leaked images seemed to confirm the rumors. Dennis had escaped to Las Vegas, but nothing was verified. Neither the police, nor the team, nor his friends could confirm where he really was. The case became a national story. The disappearance of an NBA star in the middle of the season was an unprecedented scandal. Meanwhile, Rodman himself remained absent, and the mystery grew. Phil Jackson, the Zen master, tried to calm the waters, but deep down he knew that the disappearance could shatter the balance of a team already pushed to its limits. Some mental health experts pointed out the obvious. Rodman was on the verge of an emotional collapse. His life was a whirlwind of fame, excess, and pressure, and perhaps his disappearance was not an escape, but a cry for help. Each passing day, the mystery deepened. The city, the league, the fans, all asked the same question. Where is Dennis Rodman? The silence was absolute, and that silence was more terrifying than any rumor. It was as if Rodman had disappeared from the map, as if he had vanished into thin air. What no one knew was that his reappearance would be even more bewildering than his absence. After days of absolute silence, Dennis Rodman appeared out of nowhere. There was no clear explanation, not a call, not an apology. He just came back, as if his disappearance had been a parenthesis in his own universe. His return did not bring peace. For Jordan, it was a reminder that discipline was everything. For Pippen, a test of patience. For Phil Jackson, a new Zen balancing act. But the reality was simple. Without Rodman, the Bulls could not win, and everyone knew it. His return only fueled the mystery further. The press wanted answers, but Dennis offered none. Every question met with a smile, a joke, or an uncomfortable silence. The enigma continued. On the court, his performance was devastating. As if the disappearance had recharged his batteries, Rodman returned more aggressive, more ferocious, more indispensable than ever. His duel with Karl Malone became legend. It was more than basketball. It was a personal war, a battle of pride and resilience. Rodman embodied chaos, Malone discipline, and in that tension, the Bulls found the edge they needed. Phil understood better than anyone that Rodman could not be controlled. He could only be accepted. and that acceptance was key to keeping him within a team that walked the fine line between glory and collapse. Although he returned physically, emotionally Rodman remained elsewhere. His disappearance had revealed that the pressure was consuming him, but instead of breaking him, it seemed to drive him to give even more on the court. On June 14, 1998, the Bulls won their 6th championship. It was the culmination of an era, and in that victory, Rodman played a crucial role, the tireless warrior who never stopped fighting, even against himself. After that final, it was all over. The dynasty was dismantled. Jordan retired, Pippen was traded, Phil Jackson left, and Rodman lost himself again in his own personal labyrinths. Dennis Rodman was much more than a player. He was a symbol of rebellion, of vulnerability, and of brilliance. His disappearance in 1998 was not just a sports scandal. It was a mirror of what it means to be human in the storm of fame. Rodman disappeared, yes, but what he left behind still shines. His story is a reminder that heroes are not always perfect, and that, sometimes, chaos also builds legend. That is the eternal mystery of Dennis Rodman.